You got it. All right, wait, let me just prepare the Zoom for the YouTube. And it's going to say this in the chat to record.
Can you remind people?
Okay, so
remind people the rules, Eddie.
That's the Zoom for the YouTube. All right, so anyone who is knowing that we are recording this, as you can see, oh, I'm gonna mute people. As you can see, anything that you put into the chat will be foiled in a future date. So be careful what you say. And the meeting's all yours, Lolita.
Lovita, let me interrupt just so you guys know, please, there's a lot of people on here. Keep yourselves muted. Keep yourselves muted or you will be removed. We can't keep repeating it. There's a lot of people on here. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to joint committee meeting. There's 3 committees today present. I guess we'll start with the presentation.
Yes, Stephanie from DOT. Stephanie.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm just going to pull up my presentation 1 second. Oh, could the host enable screen sharing? Okay. So my name is Stephanie Shaw. I'm the Chief of Staff for the Office of Street Improvement Programs at DOT. I'm here today for a very, very brief update. We just wanted to remind folks about the ongoing outreach we've been doing in Coney Island and talk to you about our next steps. And what we're really looking for today is some feedback from all of you. So really quickly, starting in 2019, we started conducting in-person outreach throughout the district, focusing a lot on tourist destinations in the neighborhood after we heard a lot of concern about congestion throughout Coney Island. We wanted to find out more about the sources of congestion, where people were traveling to, and how we could potentially help mitigate some of that. And we were supposed to launch a public advertising campaign targeting folks who were driving to Coney Island from outside the neighborhood in 2020. But then, of course, we were delayed by COVID. So we launched that campaign last summer, targeting folks in South Brooklyn who were driving to Coney Island but had good public transportation options. And now we're back for our second round of on-the-ground outreach. And this time we really want to talk to residents who live in the area about safety concerns, traffic safety. So, we'll do a big chunk of outreach starting now through early summer, and then we'll come back again in the fall for some more outreach. And again, like we're really looking to target residents and folks who work in the area as opposed to visitors. We'll analyze some of our data, come back to you all with our findings, and then our intention is to take that information and develop safety projects for the neighborhood to make the neighborhood safer for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. So again, big focus on safety. Just a really quick recap, DOT's mission is very safety focused. Vision Zero is kind of our guiding principle. And the idea is really that there's no traffic death or injury that is acceptable, and all of them are preventable. And so Coney Island in particular has a number of areas that are high crash locations. So we have 4 Vision Zero priority corridors in the neighborhood, 6 Vision Zero priority intersections. So these are places that we're already thinking about what we could do in terms of safety to improve them, but we want to hear from all of you and the residents of Coney Island about how you operate in these spaces and what your specific concerns are, and if there are locations that aren't represented here that feel dangerous to you. So just a few nice photos from our last round of outreach. We're going to be doing a lot of this again, setting up at locations, tabling, talking to folks. We have a really good survey that we'll be conducting in person. And we'll also have an online way to access that as well. So last time like I said, we targeted a lot of visitors. So we went to places like MCU Park, the Boardwalk, Luna Park. We also did go to some places where we thought we would talk to more residents. And we're in the process of also launching an online portal tool as another venue for collecting feedback. But this is where we really need your help. And the reason that we're here today is we want to hear from you all where we should be going to make sure that we're talking to people and we're getting the feedback that is really representative of the neighborhood. So if you have suggestions today for particular locations, we would love to take that feedback now if you want to think about it. And you can, let Eddie know, or you can reach out to Rhonda or directly to me. I'll put my information in the chat. And then as our street ambassador team, some of whom are on the call today, are planning their deployments for where they're going to go out and talk to people and conduct surveys, we'll definitely know that we're hitting locations that represent the neighborhood well. So I'm happy to answer any questions or take any of the feedback from our last round of outreach or thoughts about where we can go this time.
Thank you, Stephanie, for the presentation. I think it's very timely to reach out to actual residents of Coney Island. And I would say, I would ask, my first question would be, what is the hours of operation for your outreach team? When you're going to plan, what are the hours? Is it day, weekdays, weekends, and what time you start, what time you finish? Because depending on that, you would see, you will see who will be answering the questions correctly. I would say like by the subways, usually when people go early in the morning to their work and returning back to work. So that's why the question is when you're going to be conducting your research. And after that, I'm going to ask Eddie to monitor raised hands and pass the questions along.
Yeah, I think my colleague Burns is on the call and Muhammad, and they can speak to that. They're on our street ambassador team and they manage these deployments. But I think in general, we can be somewhat flexible. The street ambassador team works some, different hours than our typical 9 to 5 in order to make sure that we are talking to folks at times that will capture the largest audience. So I don't know, Burns or Muhammad, if you guys want to say anything else about that.
Yeah, sure. I can speak to that. So generally, we have a multilingual team of about 10 people. We will usually schedule our shift times for between 10 to 6. Our active times of being on site are usually between like 11 and 5. As Stephanie mentioned, we can shift that, slightly up or down as needed. But the idea is that we are kind of catching people as they are on their way to and fro, sometimes on their way out for the day. That could be going to work. It could not be. A lot of times coming back, if it is people that we're catching in the commute, people usually have more time to speak at the end of the day. So we can capture people as they are returning as well. But we generally will try to look for places that, as Stephanie mentioned, the first time we were focusing more on people who were not necessarily residents in terms of going to places like Luna Park and, the boardwalk, etc. So this time we're looking at places where we would expect to get a lot of foot traffic from local residents. So, and that's where we're kind of looking for a little more guidance. We have a couple of ideas of a couple of places that might be useful, but we certainly would like to hear what people's general consensus here in terms of where they think emphasis or focus might be best placed.
All right, we have 2 people with hands up. We have Christopher Greif and Lucy. So Christopher.
And Joanne.
And Joanne too, okay.
Good evening. I'm very glad we're seeing this survey being done. But if you're going to do the survey, please make sure you have different languages, and especially for people with disabilities and seniors, to make sure you have enlargement and Braille, because we have a lot of them do go. And let's not forget the Brooklyn Cyclones game. That increases heavy ridership. And even when you leave at 6 o'clock, forget it. You're still getting people coming to Coney Island around that time as well, because it's the summer. It's the beach season. And we definitely, you know, this would be a good time to do it, but please, you know, make sure that, you know, people who are coming, because that isn't a major accessible station except the D train, but I will say the F, N, and Q are to help it out. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that feedback. Yes, we will be looking for, I mean, generally, just as a general rule of thumb, we always try to look for places that are near hubs. So like places that we would expect people to be coming through. And we actually did make it to a Cyclones game the last time that we went out. So that was fun. I think we went to maybe 2 of those. As for the survey, it will be in English, Spanish, Russian, and Chinese. So those are the languages right now.
That is Mandarin and the
Mandarin.
Yeah,
Yes.
don't forget there are 2 dialogues. So let's be careful, please.
Yes. For Cantonese, yes. And we will usually also have interpreters with us on site as well.
All right, Lucy, Joanne, and then Ira.
Can you place the slide back up of the locations?
Stephanie, can you do that? You gotta share your screen again.
So we don't have any locations suggested for this round of outreach. We have a few images from, you know, the last round of outreach we did. I believe this is Key Foods. We went to Cyclones games. I'm not sure.
No, keep going. There was a list there of locations.
Oh, I'm sorry. This.
That's it.
There you go.
So
okay, so I'm like totally confused. So these are the locations that are potentially already targeted as traffic locations, and what will we be placing there?
So there's no plan for any of these locations. These locations are identified as part of DOT's sort of guiding document. We have it's not a program, but sort of our guiding principle is called Vision Zero, and it's the idea that we get to 0 traffic deaths and 0 severe traffic injuries. That's like our target. So we do analysis every few years to identify the places in the city that have the highest numbers of pedestrians who are killed or seriously injured in relation to the rest of the city. And we identify intersections, corridors, and areas as Vision Zero priority. So these are Vision Zero priority corridors, sections, priority corridors, intersections, and areas in Coney Island and in southern Brooklyn that are ripe for safety treatments. We don't have anything planned in these locations, but they would be sort of like our first pass of places to look to do work. But we want to hear from you all first about what you're experiencing, what you think the issues are, if these are the right locations for us to be looking to make safety improvements, or if there's other places that feel more dangerous to you.
Is it safety improvements or is it to add additional cameras? Because that's what, when I hear Vision Zero, that's what I'm hearing.
So these are for safety improvements. Speed cameras and red light cameras are definitely a tool in our toolkit. It's a separate program really from the kind of work that our team does. Our team often will come in and do things like add additional pedestrian space and change the geometry of the roadway a little bit to make it safer for everybody using that space. Cameras have very specific rules and requirements around like where we can and cannot install them. And this team is definitely not proposing any camera installation. If that's something you guys were interested in, we could certainly bring in.
No, we have enough cameras here, enough.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I think everyone would agree with me. I walk faster to the locations. And again, I'm not trying to say that speeding is something that I agree on, or people should speed down. But when you just tap your gas and you're at the next camera, you can't even move. But that's just for me to say. But,
this team here is definitely, we're not going to be proposing cameras as any of our interventions to increase safety. We're thinking a lot more about the roadway design. and also potentially some programmatic elements that we would want to work with the community on, some education and outreach campaigns, things of that nature.
So you're asking for examples. I'm going to use an example. So like, can we request like speed bumps at these locations? Is that something that is within what you're speaking of? Or
yeah, I mean that is definitely a tool within our toolkit. Today, what we're really asking for is like sort of even earlier.
Hold on, I'm hearing the fire truck. Sorry.
That's okay. What we're really thinking about now at this point is even earlier in the process. So before we get to like the specifics of what we would propose to make the space safer, we want to hear from residents about what their experience on the street is. So what we're looking for from you guys today is go stand outside the DMV. And we think that's a great place to talk to locals about what their experience as pedestrians or cyclists or drivers in Coney Island are. And you'll get like a real picture of what it's like to be here from talking to people at that location. Because the first thing that we're going to do before we start thinking about specific projects is, talk to people and like try to take in as much information as we can. You guys are the experts in your neighborhood. And so we want to learn from you before we think about changing anything.
Now, when you're at these locations asking these questions, do you actually find out if these are the residents from this community, or do you just take a survey on any Joe Schmo that gets off the train?
We ask some demographic information, including zip code that folks live in. And we ask people if they identify as residents of Coney Island or if they identify as being from outside the neighborhood. And we'll quantify all that information when we come back to you. We'll sort of break down our findings and some graphs, and infographics to let you know about what we heard from people.
Okay, because for me personally, I'm a fan for give me the speed bumps before you give me a camera. I'd rather you have a speed bump and damage your car than getting, $500 tickets every week. But okay, thank you.
Okay, we have Aram and then Joanne, and then we have Carmen as the last person, only because we have another presentation after this.
Okay, so my question is, you're only trying to get the surveys done from the Coney Island residents, or you also wanted to get it done in Brighton Beach as well?
Our focus is really Coney Island for this effort. We'd be really happy to come to Brighton Beach and talk to folks too. But our focus for the entire length of this project has really been Coney Island in particular. That said, lots of folks from Brighton Beach spend a lot of time in Coney Island, and what you guys have to say is valuable, and what your experience on the street is valuable. We want to hear from you, and we'll sort of capture that information about who we're talking to from the demographic questions that we have about your zip code and what neighborhood you identify with.
Yeah, the reason I've asked because we represent the South Asian community in Brighton Beach, and I've been trying to, because we have a senior center, then we have a mosque and a school on Brighton 7, and there is a lot of, safety issues when it comes to pedestrian during the dismissal time. And right now the school is going under construction. So 2 years ago, before the pandemic, I've tried to work out in terms of getting a speed bump either on Brighton 7 or between Ocean View Avenue and that's called Brighton Beach Avenue, I believe. So yes, but it didn't work out. Even school was trying, I was trying as an adult daycare center and a mosque representative, but nothing worked out. So we really appreciate if you can take a look in the Brighton Beach neighborhood as well. And if you have surveys available in English and Urdu language, or you have the interpreters available, we'll be happy to have you survey our community members as well, those who are limited English proficient, but it will be a good feedback because they are the ones who uses the Brighton Bazaar and the Boardwalk and the Coney Island site as well.
Yeah, we can definitely get our survey translated. If there's specific locations that you have concerns about that are kind of outside the scope of this outreach effort, that definitely doesn't preclude us from looking and working with you to make improvements at that, particular location. So I would say, shoot an email to Rhonda and I'll put my email in the chat right now too. And we can have a conversation about what might be possible. If it might not be a speed bump, but we have lots of interventions that can help with safety, especially in locations where there's vulnerable populations like the elderly or children.
Thank you, appreciate it. I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, we have Joanne next, and then Carmen is the last person.
Okay, a couple of things. Number one, on that list of sites that you have, you left out the worst intersection in Coney Island, Cropsey and 17th Avenue, which is a disaster. Talking to people in front of DMV, 3/4 of them, I would venture to say, don't even come from this neighborhood, so they don't really know. I don't see why Brighton Beach is not included, because it's one piece, it's one stretch, and it should all be included. And lastly, which is firstly, if you people really want to see what's happening here and talk to people, come out on a Saturday and Sunday this time of the year, and you'll see, you won't even have to talk to people, you will see what our major issues are. Not on a Tuesday afternoon in January when we have 3.5 cars, but this time of the year, when we start our problem and we go at it, and it's torturous and it's murderous and it's dangerous. And that's all I have to say.
And thank you, Joanne.
Good afternoon. I have a question about the cameras. Why are they labeled school zone tickets when you get them, or violations when you get them? And I thought also that the cameras were only supposed to be activated during the times that school was in session.
Not anymore.
So I don't know, this is outside the scope of the presentation that Stephanie and her group are here to talk about, but if Eddie wants me to answer any of those questions, or
Rhonda, I specifically asked her to ask the question why DOT was still here. If you can respond to that. It was just, the question really is, some tickets are labeled from Department of Finance as school zone locations when there is not a school there. So I think, I'm not sure if that's just how they label them on all the tickets. So we're just curious as to how they present.
I understand. I understand the question. The speed cameras are only in currently in 750 school zones. So if you get a speed camera ticket, it is within a 1/4 mile of the perimeter of a school. That's how the program's designed. That's what the requirement is for the speed cameras. 750 of the highest priority school zones in the entire city. So that's why they're labeled school zone ticket.
Okay, so if we believe that there was a camera installed, then, and it's not 700, you said 750 feet?
No, I said there are 750 school zones throughout the city. It's a 1/4 mile radius from the perimeter of a school.
So if we believe that it's not a 1/4 mile, we should just let you know.
Sure. You could send me a location of a speed camera, and I can check that with the group that oversees the speed cameras. I'd be very surprised if it's not, if you find one that's not, but that's not for me to say. I don't oversee the program. So certainly you can email me, Lucy. You have a direct line to me.
Thank you very much. Carmen, are you satisfied with the answer?
Thank you. I'll wait for you to get her to give you the correct, because there are
Give us the location, give us the location, and then I'll forward it to her.
You're the best. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Gloria, go ahead.
I was just trying to ask a question about Seagate on West 37th Street and Neptune Avenue. Sometimes it's difficult crossing that street because cars coming in and out of the gate, and cars coming down West 37th Street. Sometimes it appears that they might collide. I know that happened to me twice. It just needs to be looked at. I've been talking about this for the last couple of years, but I just wanted to bring it back up again and see what happened.
We can definitely take a look at and see what the conflict might be there.
Yeah, the cars coming in and out. They have two exits, one on Surf Avenue and one on Neptune.
It's like a driveway.
No, it's people coming in and out of Seagate.
Okay.
You know, traffic going in, traffic coming out of the gate, but then you have cars coming down 37th Street from Bayview Avenue as well as from Surf and Mermaid. They all coming together right at that gate.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely take a look.
There
Just so
are
you know,
stop
Stephanie.
signs there for everybody. There
Say
are
that
stop
again?
signs there. There are stop
But
signs there.
Joanne, again, I understand what you're saying. The stop signs from 37th Street, but people do what they want to do. And this is how come people get killed every day, because people don't be paying attention.
Okay, that's a potential location you want them to look at.
Right.
Thank you.
All right,
Does
Stephanie,
anyone else have?
I just want to point out, Stephanie, that Seagate, you're probably aware of this. It's a gated community and she's talking about, okay, all right.
Is there any locations you guys want to disclose now? And what is the deadline for my office to send you the list that is being presented to them?
It would be wonderful if you guys could send, your thoughts on locations in the next week or so. I don't know if that's feasible. We're hoping to get out and start talking to folks ASAP. We know that it's going to just get busier and busier in the neighborhood with folks who don't live there. And we want to talk to as many folks who live in the area as we can. So definitely the sooner the better, but I don't know, Burns and Muhammad, we have deployment dates scheduled coming up. The 8th, I think the first one is for the 8th. Is that right?
Actually, the 6th. So actually next week, we'd like to start looking at some places. There's, and Renata actually sent you something earlier. Feel free to share that as a couple of ideas of places that we might consider. We're going to be doing it throughout the month, but as you know, the sooner the better in terms of, just giving us additional time and lead in for, planning the deployments. But
okay, what I'll do is ask the office, Eddie, if you don't mind, maybe send out an email to the board members, asking if they weren't able to attend this meeting. Here's the potential locations that DOT is presenting or has come up with. If there are any other locations, let us know, and we will forward it to them within a week or two. I think that's going to be after our board meeting. Would have been nice to have it, before our board meeting, but it would have been nice for us to be able to bring it up at the board meeting, but we'll do what we can. Thank you.
I just popped a few locations that we're thinking about in the chat, and so we'd love your feedback on these. And if there are any other places that you think would be good, definitely let us know.
What I would do is tell Eddie to email to the board members saying these are these are locations, and is there any other locations you would like for us to look at and forward to DOT?
sorry.
Writing is one, exactly like they just said. It's the most busiest location.
Sorry, and I know you just mentioned it would have been nice if it was if you could get the feedback during that board meeting. When is the board meeting?
It is the end of the month, I believe. Can someone jump in here and tell me? I believe it's the 22nd.
It's June 22nd. Yes.
June 22nd. Okay, that's fine. So 2 things to think about there. One, we will be doing dates after that. So definitely bring it up at the board meeting, because it may be things we can put on the back end of it. Also, in addition to what we're doing right now, we will be coming back again at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, to do the same thing. So if it doesn't get into this part or this phase.
Well, this community board has learned that things that are done in the summer, they're done knowing that this community board doesn't meet in the summer. So, let's try to focus on now, because we don't look like we're going to meet in July and August. And starting in September is just going to be lost. If you guys are available for the June meeting, we would totally appreciate it. If not, we'll go, work on your schedule the best we can.
Okay.
So
Well,
Eddie, shoot them an email of the information and see if they're available for them to present again.
You got it.
Thank you.
Just
Okay.
to wrap it up, I would say that thank you for your presentation and considering looking at the local residents. I would say that, it would be great if you guys do the survey before the school year is end, the summer, because some people will leave into their summer vacation camps and things like that. So it'd be good if you're gonna catch the span of the time at the end of the school year and also during the busy summer time. And I would say I agree with people saying that weekends are really important to do the survey. And also, in addition to the ambassadors going and speaking to the residents, it'd be great if you have any letters or outreach to local residents, and maybe even email. I don't know what kind of list you have, like outreach and flyers, so people could just add those locations as well, where you could they feel potentially that it's unsafe environment. And
sorry, just real quick, one thing I was going to add, there will be flyers as well with this. They will be in multiple languages, but also they will have a QR link on them. So those will be put up as well during this period for people to also take the survey that way as well. So as many suggestions as we have in terms of directing the survey, as I said, it will be in multiple languages. So I think all of that will just help in terms of the overall effort that we're making. So we'd be happy to pass those along as well.
Right.
Thank you for the team, and we pass it over to the next presenter, please.
Okay. Next
Thank you.
Is Steve Gonzalez from School Construction Authority.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name's Steve Gonzalez. I'm Project Support External Affairs for the School Construction Authority for South Brooklyn and Staten Island. I know that the principal of PS 253 introduced herself before, but she's on camera, Lisa Speroni, who's here today with her assistant principal, Laura Casal. Lisa, just...
Hi, Steve. I am so sorry. We are at actually a district function, and they are having a fire drill in the middle of now, in this moment. So I'm going to mute for a moment and see if I can walk outside.
Sure. Joining us also today, she's not on camera, is Isabel Demola. She is this District 21 superintendent. And I'd also like to recognize our chief for the School Construction Authority. He's also here off camera, Colin Albert. So having said that, I'll start. What we are here today, we have applied to the DOT for a street closure as part of the Open Streets program. We applied it to the main office at 55 Water Street. And I believe that the Community Board 13 got a copy of it. And we are seeking a letter of support from the Community Board tonight. Basically, what this entails, just to give you a background information, is that the SCA is working with the school, PS 253. We're building a school addition. It is located at 601 Ocean View Avenue. Well, that's the current building. The block is 8666, the lot 610. And the school has an enrollment of approximately 1,000 students. And what this 4-story addition will do, it will require utilization of the entire existing play yard, also including construction staging. We began construction on April the 18th, and we have an anticipated duration of 24 months. This is an occupancy date of September 2024. Now, typically, the school uses the play yard to assemble approximately 500 students for egress onto Brighton 7th Street and the remainder in Ocean View. But the problem is that after the end of this month, whatever allotment that we have allowed for the kids to disassemble and dismiss, there's a small portion of the playground. That playground will be closed off after the end of this month, after the school year. So when they return, when the students and the staff, the teachers return to PS 253 in September, they will not have any use of the entire back play yard, the entire property in the back, because it will be entirely a construction area. So having said that, so the SCA is requesting to have Brighton 7th Street between Ocean View Avenue and Neptune Avenue closed between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. on school days beginning in September, Monday through Friday, in order to accommodate the dismissal for the school for 2 years. Again, beginning with the academic school year of September 2022. So I'm going to share the screens. I'm going to show you a map of where there are dismissal times and there are staggered dismissals, and I will share it right now. Here is the dismissal map, if you can see it. I put this to 25% so it make it a little easier. So I'm going to start all the way to the left. So you see if a construction site is here. Starting in September, you're going to have a number of staggered egresses, dismissals. So 4th grade lineup is here at 2 o'clock. Egress 1. This is Brighton 7th Street, by the way, and it's over here, and I'll go over to Ocean View in a minute because there's another staggered dismissal on the other side. Here is egress number 2. It's 3rd grade lineup at 2:10. So egress 3 is another 4th grade, 2 o'clock and 2:10, 4th and 5th coming out this way in the back. This is a walkway here that we have provided as part of our site safety plan. Here's Brighton 7th Street. I will now move towards the front. You see another one, door number 5. This is door number 7, door number 6. This is door number 5, also at 2 o'clock. You have kindergarten classes coming out through door number 5. I'm moving now towards the existing building. This is the existing building here. So having said that, we are now moving towards the front, which is now Ocean View Avenue here. Here are the staggered egresses. 2 o'clock for kindergarten classes, 2:27, 2:23, 2:10 p.m. at 1st grade. If you go down here towards door number 2, towards the corner of Brighton 6th and Ocean View, you have door number 2, which is kindergarten classrooms K127, K128. One class is at 2. Well, the 2 kindergarten classes are 2. The 2nd grade is at 2:10. So I'm going to ask the principal to explain why this is needed. The school has petitioned us to file for this street closure. So I'm going to ask Lisa and Laura to please now speak. Lisa?
So thank you, Steve. I just wanted, the fire department actually just showed up at the Dyker Golf Course where we are. So we're going to try to make this quick. I do want to first and foremost thank Community Board 13 and thank the community members, Iram and the whole team who have been so unbelievably supportive of what's been happening at our school and recognize the importance of putting the children in the community first. So we want to thank you for that. I want to turn the mic over to Ms. Guerrero, who provided that actual what you're looking at and has been in charge of the work with yourselves in the construction while I take a look at what's happening at the venue. So Ms. Guerrero, who has been doing it, please go right ahead.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Bonnie.
you.
Hi, hello, how are you? So right now we're seeking permission because we like to expand the boundaries of the sidewalk. As you see, we have egress 1, 2, and 3 coming out of the large schoolyard, which is approximately 500 students. And those children will have to be redeployed to exit 5, door 5, which is
Can we
on-
have the screen? Because we're looking at you and not the presentation.
Can you see the screen?
No, you took it off, Steve. Put it
No.
back.
Share it, yes.
I got to share it again?
Yeah, share it again.
All right, hold on.
Thanks.
He's got to bring it in further.
Okay, here we go again. Can you see it now?
Yes, we see part 2.
All right,
Yes.
all right, so let me go back. There's the construction site. Let me go forward. Let's go back to these grades again. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Guerrero.
Hi. Yeah, so on Brighton 7th Street is where we have currently egress 1, 2, and 3, where we have grades 3, 4, and 5 dismissing, which turns out to be about approximately 500 children. And we need to expand the boundaries of the sidewalk because when the entire large yard is closed down, we have to deploy those children to the front of the building, which is Ocean View Avenue, and sharing only one egress, which is egress 5, which is on Brighton 7th Street, but closer to Ocean View. And we have no speed bumps, we have no lights. So we were thinking that we would like to expand the sidewalk so we can allow parents and children to dismiss onto the sidewalk and into the street. With that, we would also like to have these no standing signs, which only allows Department of Ed employees to park, because we would like to allow space in between the cars. See, if there are regular pedestrians and regular people from the community are parking there, we can't control the parking. But if there are staff members, we can paint lines and we can make sure there's at least 2 feet between each car, which allow parents, multiple children and baby carriages to exit the building safely. Also, at the same time, we're considering the congestion on Ocean View Avenue. Right now, we have 3 grades dismissing at a staggered time, and we still have congestion on Ocean View Avenue. So adding another 500 more children would actually be a very big safety hazard. So we would really appreciate if you can work with us and getting this done. And also at the same time, we have a lot of our staff members who are now parking in the community, and allowing them to park in the perimeter of the building would also allow more space for the community members as well. Can you hear us?
I have a question. Yes.
Join.
All right, I have a question. Are we here talking about safety for the kids or getting parking for your school staff? Because that's what it seems you're talking about, getting parking by the building.
No, this is, okay, go ahead.
The first and foremost point of agenda for this meeting is to talk about the safety of our children, the safety of our parents, entire school community, and our teachers as well. I'm bringing out several points, but the first and foremost is to ensure that we have to take 500 children and redeploy them onto Ocean View Avenue. So that's imminent danger for the children to congest that avenue even more than it is now. Because currently we have 500 children, and we have invited Department of Transportation, Sanitation to come to look at our dismissal staggered and now vision it with 500 extra children and their parents and their baby carriages. So it's our safety that's most important.
You have to understand, if I may interject, they are not going to have access to dismiss from the schoolyard. And I'll stress that again after the end of this month. They're going to be out in the street. They're going to be on the sidewalk. They'll be out in the street doing dismissal on Brighton 7th. And that's the point that we wish to hit home. These kids will not be in the yard. They'll be out in the street. And that's one of the that's the main reason why we're also staggering them. We're bringing out, as Ms. Guerrero and Ms. Baroni mentioned, they're bringing out a number of students out onto Ocean View Avenue as well, because we can't possibly, well, the school can't possibly egress all of them out on Brighton 7th.
In addition, I just want to bring to your attention, our custodians, we are currently working with Department of Sanitation as well. They like to relocate the dumpsters to Brighton 7th Street. So we're going to have to consider that as well. So that's taking up even more space than we're not allowed it right now. So it's definitely going to cause a safety issue if we cannot expand the boundaries of our sidewalk.
Okay, we have some questions. Would you want to take them, Steve?
Well, either I or the school,
Okay.
but go ahead.
All right, Yelena first, then we got Aram, and then we got Mark.
She's
wait,
muted.
Yelena, you gotta unmute yourself. Sorry.
Mute. Okay.
There you go.
Okay,
Can you
there
hear
you
me?
are.
Yeah.
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Okay. Good evening. I also brought some. I sent some pictures to Eddie. He promised to share with me, with everybody. Probably it should have been sent to all committee members. So, I am Yelena Meknin, Brighton Beach Bed Executive Director. I am also Community Board 13 member. I'm not a member of any of those committees, but I decided with the permission, I believe I would be permitted to say a few words. I went to school last week during dismissal time. I did not take pictures. I took 3, did not come out good, but I will go tomorrow. I went to school today. I walk around, you see pictures. Sidewalk is pretty wide on all sides. Now you see the schedule and it says dismissal time. So it's 2 and 2:10. But we are hearing.
Ron, take your mouse off the screen.
Okay.
It's giving a little design
Can you
there.
hear me? It's better now?
No, it wasn't you. It was Ron. He was going all over the screen with his mouse.
Okay. So I went there, I looked. You have dismissal time, as we were told, 2 and 2:10. You're asking us to close entire street down, entire block from Neptune Avenue to Ocean View Avenue until 3:30.
That is correct. For 2 hours, yes.
I'm not a school kid, I'm not a school teacher, but I went hundreds of times to pick up my grandchild from school. Never seen dismissal and kids or parents standing by the school hour and a half after dismissal time. So that's first what I do not understand. Second, what I do not understand, that you mentioned, and what I saw last time I went, and once again, picture did not come out good, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have the same view tomorrow when I go during dismissal time. What I saw parents waiting for children, not on the sidewalk, but on the street with carriages. So I understand it's safety for kids. And as a mother and grandmother, I will be the first one to talk about safety for kids. But the school I went for years to pick up my grandson, they had 3 dismissal time, 1:45, 2, and 2:15. So probably somebody has to work on it for the safety of kids. If kids stay in a yard, I believe you are not planning to keep kids on the street, especially during the winter or raining or whatever. Also, it's a residential block, and we have many people residing there, many elderly. There is also only one way from Brighton 7th Street to get to Brighton 8th Street. It's a slight right turn, and it's a one-way street. So what about emergency? What about police? What about fire? How it's going to be done? I have no idea how it was planned without talking to residents. And I know for sure nobody spoke to residents. I spoke to 4 today. Nobody spoke to them. How it could be done without taking into consideration safety of the 2-3 blocks of people who live in their houses. Also, there is a mosque on the corner of Brighton 7th Street and Neptune Avenue, an entrance from the Brighton 7th Street. I strongly believe it's going to be affected as well every Friday. So once again, I personally, on behalf of many people who live on Brighton, who work on Brighton, would greatly appreciate if you look into it and come with a better plan. Once again, if you have dismissal at 2 and 2:10, I cannot understand why street should be closed until 3:30. I don't know if you spoke to local precinct. I don't know if you spoke to fire department. I understand you spoke to sanitation because of garbage pickup. But there are other agencies working in the area. There are other people living in the area. And it's a bungalow area. It's new houses, old houses. Unfortunately, we hear a lot about fires and about ambulances and on and on and on and on. So once again, for the safety of the kids, not only school kids, for the safety of residents, for the safety of everyone who lives in this community, I would greatly appreciate if you look into your plan and see any other way to help kids, help parents and residents of Brighton Beach area. Thank you.
Lisa, you want to address that, Lisa?
Well, Steve, I'll be very candid with you, and I can appreciate her concerns being a principal in the building for 20 years and seeing it grow from 426 children to almost at 1,000, and the residents in the community growing from what was a bungalow community to what is now complex apartment buildings and doctors' offices with a significant amount of ambulettes coming up and down. As a school, we don't make decisions about their choice of where to build and how to build. We can only speak to what is in the best interest of our children. And though I do appreciate the conversation that is surrounding the times, one of the things that we do need to recognize is the following. As stated by one of the school board members in the past, although Coney Island, and I appreciate that, has speed bumps and has red lights, as do most of the public schools in the surrounding areas, including Grady, which is a high school. Our school, despite our efforts, have never received not a speed bump and or a red light camera. So just as the woman said in the past, we are beholden to the community to recognize the stop signs, which if you come on any given day, particularly in the difficult weather, it's almost obsolete. In addition to the mosque on Brighton 7th Street is a shul on Brighton 6th Street with a nursery school attached to it with parents who also have to come down the block. Both streets are one-way streets. And though we understand the issues within the community, one of the things that the residents did mention was the amount of children that are spilling off onto the sidewalks, which speaks to the fact that you're seeing parents in the street and across the street. And you're seeing that because there isn't enough room on a sidewalk for our families, most of whom have 2+ children. When we talk about the staggering of dismissal, we need to remember that there's a mandate by the Chancellor, Department of Education, of required amount of education time, as well as the needs of our students with disabilities and our busing children. And in order to be equitable, we have to make sure that they are entitled to their 6 hours and 20 minutes. And although the community, and I'm speaking specifically about our parents, have been very gracious to understand that we have to cut some of that time off when we're talking about dismissal, we need to recognize that children who are 5 with parents who work, who are subject to public transportation, most of whom cannot afford cars, are subject to those times. So when we talk about 1:45 to 3:30, or moving that to 1:45 to 3:15, we're talking about the opportunity for parents to get there. So we need to be reasonably aware of the fact that because they have multiple siblings, it often takes more than 5 minutes, particularly moving a carriage across the streets. And I'd love to say that the sanitation has always been as cooperative as necessary, but they have a lot of schools to hit in the area. So shoveling in those pieces become all but a challenge during the school year. Fortunately, our custodians do that. It is important to note that although we were brought into the sanitation piece, we generate 4 tons of garbage every week. And public safety with specifically sanitation actually is tantamount in terms of rats and what's happening in the area due to the building crisis. So the fact that sanitation is going to be putting those public dumpsters on part of our school property, we certainly can't line up parents or ask children to pass by that. And while I have an absolute affinity being a resident in communities that they do close off streets, it is not at all the first. It is something we take very seriously because our community has supported our school and attends our school and recognizes the growth within the framework of the school. And certainly these days among all, we recognize that our children are the youngest that start their career. We know that it is an awful lot to ask, but we are here to speak about what is the best opportunities we have because no one ever wants to, certainly not myself or Ms. Guerrero, wants to call a parent because someone missed the stop sign or felt the need to leave. We certainly can look at the time frame, and I do appreciate that. We've spoken to some of our residents. And again, we're here on behalf of the school looking at this. I want to be clear about the parking for the teachers. That actually only came up because when we started thinking about how the parking happens in the area and the tremendous commitment our community members have to our school, they try very hard to park very close to one another. And the problem with that, unfortunately, is if we're using the street to expand the boundaries of the sidewalk, we're not able to let our carriages and our parents with multiple siblings move through the parking. So the only reason we thought of the placards, which happen to be around Grady High School and Lincoln High School, which are adult children, and they have these signs, is so that we could actually make sure with Iram and the community that we marker off enough space. We can't do that to private residents because we don't know who they are, especially when we are in a community that has ambulance service and has permission and placards all over the place. And I certainly encourage DOE to correlate those pieces to see that we don't have a lot of recourse here. And again, I do apologize on behalf of the school for the inconvenience that 2 years will make. But when we think about what is being provided to our children who are marginalized population on the onset, being able to be exploring what will become a new educational facility, we certainly think that 2 years is really a drop in the bucket, although it's difficult. All of the high rises have come with pains to the community, and yet they were built. We're asking to reinvest in our children because they will be the people who continue the growth of Brighton Beach. So thank you for the opportunity, and Ms. Guerrero, of course, to be working with the team so closely. So that is certainly something SCA and DOT should be talking about, and certainly as they move forward, because like the community, this is a plan that was fortunately placed upon us, but certainly we are working out the kinks and are willing to do that collaboratively as always. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I mean, I have, thank you very much. I understand. And I still have my concerns. I'm also asking, I believe we do have cross guards that can help, but I don't remember seeing many of them, number one. Number two, I would be the first one, and not only me, but I believe many people from this board would be the first one to advocate for a speed bump or stop sign, or even to place police car there to have police car during dismissal time. But once again, I would greatly appreciate if you look into it again, because we are for schools. We are all for schools. Every time this community board talking about development or URLA process, I'm the first one to say, wait a minute, more buildings, less school. And it's very good for community that have this new building and be able to accommodate more kids. And I really appreciate what you do for children. And I've heard so much good words about you. But once again, it's in the middle of community. So let's work together to see what can be done to protect children and not to make life for nearby residents hell. Because once again, parking is a problem, but I can live with it. But talking about fire department, ambulances, and police cars, it's a big concern of mine. And once again, it looks to me that no talk was held, no conversation was held with local precinct and fire department, which should take place before applying for a permit, in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Let me jump in here for a second. I just want to make it clear, and correct me if I'm wrong, Eddie. We're here to discuss only the 2-hour window gap to
Yeah.
close the street, not the design, correct?
Yes, that's all we're doing.
Okay, so I want those to know that we're not here to discuss the design. We're not here to talk about parking. We're not here to talk about anything of that. We're here to discuss the 2-hour closure of the street. Thank you.
Okay, next we have is Ira.
Hi, everyone. So as you know, I'm a member of Community Board 13, and I'm also a member of Education Committee. And I am very well aware about this school situation, the construction, because my 2 kids attend this school. One is in kindergarten and other one is first grade student. I also work at Apna Center, which is at the junction of Brighton 7 and Neptune Avenue, is an adult daycare center. So I'm speaking on behalf of my whole community and my children as well. First and foremost, everybody wants safety of our children and our elderly and our community members. And I do appreciate all the efforts Principal Lisa Ciproni and her whole team is doing in terms of making sure not only the academics, but as well as the safety of our community. And as she said, that our community, many of children, those who attend this school are marginalized and underrepresented community members, and they really deserve a development in the school so that more students can attend this facility. However, Eddie, as I spoke to you earlier, I have tried to reach out to the imam, but he is kind of very, very busy. So he couldn't make it today. I cannot talk on his behalf. I will wait to hear back from him, and I'll update the community board, whatever imam has, if he has any concerns or any questions. But from my center's point of view, I have one concern is that the dismissal time for my center members, is a center seniors with wheelchairs and with walkers. Our vans, the shift ends at 2 o'clock. So between 2 to 3 is the time when seniors go back to home in our vans, and many of them are with walkers and wheelchairs. That's the key time when the school want the closure. If it's any other time, that won't be a problem for us to manage. But this time, because we have to see from our center's point of view as well, that how our seniors will go back home and use the vans, because right now the vans are parked right in front of the center and seniors can easily go in and the drivers help them. Because the whole street of Brighton 7 is no standing. And our drivers cannot leave the vans unattended, otherwise they end up getting tickets. And on the Neptune Avenue side as well, there is no parking. So if we have to come up in terms of accommodating the school dismissal request, we have to come up, DOT has to come up in terms of providing for the senior center a limited parking. Because what will happen, like before 1:30, if the cars are already parked there, will they be allowed to park before 1:30, or there will be no car parks? And then as well as Yelena previously said about the other residents, I cannot talk on behalf of all the other residents, but we need to get some comments or feedback from the residents as well, in terms of how it might affect them. And I agree that the parents, when my 3 kids used to go to this school, I have a window of almost the same Bay Academy. My other kids coming out at 2:20. So I have to rush from one to other building in terms of picking up all the kids and bringing all back together. It's always a hassle for the parent who's either, driving or walking in either way. So we need to think from all perspectives in terms of making it more easy and safe for the school community and as well as the neighborhoods as well. And if the DOT can suggest something which is more appropriate, in terms of us from the senior center's point of view as well. And as I mentioned earlier, like 2-3 years ago, before the pandemic, I worked with the school and our ex-council member's office in terms of getting the school bumps, but nothing worked out. Nothing happened. We requested for the security guard, school crossing guard on Brighton 7. I worked for 1.5 years with them in terms of requesting, and I heard that, it is approved, and Iram, you will see a crossing guard on Brighton 7 and Neptune. I never see that. It's been 3-4 years now. We have been requesting for school bumps on Ocean View Avenue and Ocean Parkway. We were requesting for crossing guard, but nothing happened.
Okay, you want to answer any of that?
I'm sorry, can I just, as DOT, can I just comment? I'd like her to send me an email with the locations for the speed humps so I can look into that and find out why they were denied. If you have a tracking number for those requests.
Yes, I can check on my emails. I might have the tracking numbers of those requests. Those were like almost 2.5 or 3 years ago before the pandemic.
Did you actually get a response?
Yeah, we got some response from the council, from ex-council members' office and the DOT as well. There were some, I don't know, whatever reasons they gave. I don't remember exactly, but I can pull up my old emails and I can definitely forward you those requests.
Okay, and my email address is already in the chat. If you want me to write it again.
I got it.
Okay, so please, my name's Rhonda Messer, and I certainly don't know off the top of my head why they would have been denied, but let me look into that when I'm back in the office and have the access to the database, okay?
Okay.
And the crossing guard, that's administered by NYPD, so I can't help you with that.
I raise my hand.
Okay, all right. Lisa or Steve, you want to answer to anything?
Yeah, hi, it's Lisa Speroni again. So I do have a question. I'm sorry, I'm just.
Did we just lose her?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. All right. Steve, do you want to answer anything to?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Anything to add.
Let's go to Mark. Next question, then Perez, and then Christopher.
And my question is, you mentioned the yard, your current activities yard, I assume is.
Yes, there's a small portion.
Years and hence.
In fact, Miss Yelena had a photo of the yard. That small portion is right now. That's till the end. Okay.
Understand that. Now you need that construction related, and there's going to be a new building, and the question is,
yes,
presumably the number of students are not going to go down afterwards. You're going to have more students.
It's going to be more students. Yes, to relieve the capacity. Yes,
I understand.
Okay.
So in 2 years, what changes? Because now you have even more students, and why this 2-year only closing seems that it's not going to be a 2-year proposition, because you're going to have more schools and you're going to be back to the board asking to close the street again, or maybe also close.
Hi.
All right, she's back.
I am back. I'm so sorry. We got booted off where we are. So again, Aram, thank you so much for the opportunity. One of the things the other members mentioned, and it certainly is something to think about. Again, this was something that was suggested to us, so we are working clearly with you. The idea of maybe looping in the 6-0, because possibly if the police precinct is willing to send perhaps some auxiliary police or something. I know where I live, we have some auxiliary we can count on, and we have a great staff here with the 6-0 that could maybe even for half an hour, because school theoretically lets out by 2:20. Let's say parents like Aram have to pick up 2 or 3 children. If we could have the auxiliary or some police assigned to the school at that time, they can serve as the closing of the school, that block, for just even 1/2 hour. And that would allow for the flow of traffic, and certainly to facilitate if a police or a fire truck needed to get in. I do want to reference that as a principal of that school for 20 years, we have several times over asked and commissioned for speed bumps and for red lights, which certainly would have helped facilitate the movement of our parents, because assisting with lights would have helped us. We were told, I do have an answer as to why, that since we were on the crosswalk of Coney Island Avenue to Ocean Parkway, to have cars slowing down would be a challenge. That has continued to be an ongoing concern of ours, given that our high schools that are up the block from us, both Lincoln and Grady High School, not only have speed bumps, but red lights as well, and full staffed crossing guards. So certainly any assistance that you can give during this time to assist our parents with crossing the street safely, because 4-way stop signs do not do that. And as you know, getting crossing guards has been significantly difficult. I myself and my assistant principal have served in the capacity of crossing guards, certainly in the winter time. And although we are fortunate now to have 2, it isn't enough, but possibly we could think about with SCA and with the school construction to loop in a broader arena to discuss perhaps with the police to be able to provide for that for us going forward. We're certainly apt to think about that, understanding the residents' concern, and at the end of the day, trying to accommodate both. So that would allow for that. I do want to mention that although parents certainly do bring cars, it does then cause double parking around the area. So that also becomes the concern. Right. So right now, we certainly are absolutely interested in any assistance that anyone can give to move this venture along for the next 2 years to ensure the safety of our children. We are on the same side of making sure that we accommodate our adults with disabilities, and the foot traffic that comes from the students coming out of Brady, coming out of Lincoln, going to Brighton Beach Avenue to utilize the subway. So we have a tremendous amount of foot traffic. So certainly those discussions are something that we're happy to have with anyone who's willing to have them.
I like to add, Eddie, to allow, my chief has his hand up, Colin Albert. So I'm gonna, if I would like Mr. Albert to speak.
Albert, you can speak. We can't hear you.
Colin?
Is it? Where is he?
Until he gets on, can we go to the next question?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, Mark is next, and then Christopher, then Jeff.
You had temporarily, Lisa, you had temporarily gotten knocked off. I'll ask the question again. You're closing the yard to facilitate the construction, and you're now going to have another building and more students. What's going to change in 2 years that you won't be right back to closing Brighton 7th or Brighton 7th and Brighton 6th 2 years from 2024, you said, school year? I don't remember.
Yes, 2024 occupancy. That's
Steve,
correct.
is this better?
Yes,
So-
like we hear you. Go ahead, Colin. Yes.
I'll wait.
Well, let's let Mark finish his question.
Sure.
And then we'll move on. Thank you.
Okay, that's the question. The other questions I had were already asked.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark, for that opportunity. So, like yourself, when school construction comes in, and we are certainly very grateful for the expansion for the community, there's only a certain amount of negotiation for us. We have asked and petitioned to keep a portion of our schoolyard, and they've been very gracious to allow for the amount we have right now. Had we been able to keep that existing small area, we wouldn't be asking for the street closure because we'd be able to accommodate, although with some challenges. We certainly, and my assistant principal, who is really responsible for all of the amazing planning, we're happy to, with the parent coordinator and with my PTA, Aram, and the community members, be able to work around having to close that school, having to close the street. But unfortunately, our understanding is due to the cranes and what's coming in, there is no option for us. But again, that is certainly something that we were willing to be fine with. But again, the challenge comes in with how do you build a building of that capacity? With regard to why we will not have that problem is simply because the streets would then be opened again. Parking would then be open again, because one of the conversations we continue to have with SEA is because of the machinery, our community parking, just for our local residents, has been very obstructed. And we want to make sure that we give that back to them as well, because we do recognize their hardship. And when I talk community, teachers and my parents in the community are equal members of that community, but my parent community has the vested interest in making sure that they can park and pick up their children. So I can't answer anything other than changing that prior to this close down of everything. The challenge was not the foot traffic of dismissal. Once the new building comes, we'll have more of a sidewalk. Remember, they've taken some of that away in order to create the building itself. We're just talking about right now the immediacy of September and what SEA has been provided.
You're not on video now. Get out.
So that's a wonderful question. Thank you so much. I hope I answered that for you.
Yes. I just thought we'd be back in 2 years with now more students getting dismissed at similar time. So thank you very much for your response.
You're welcome.
Christopher?
If I can jump in now?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
Yes, Colin,
Albert.
please.
Yes.
The reason why it's 2 years, because right now there's whole schoolyard. Half of the yard is going to be where the building is going to be built. The other half is our staging area for cranes and so on and so forth. After 2 years and we build the building, we're going to release back half of the schoolyard back to the school, and we wouldn't have this problem anymore. That's the reason why only 2 years. Also, somebody mentioned emergency. We're gonna, if this gets approved, we'll have 2 barricades that will be manned by 2 people. And if there's an emergency, they can clear the street, remove the barricades, and allow the emergency vehicle to come through. So those were my 2 points.
All right, next we have is Christopher, Jeff, and then Charleston.
Yes, as we're discussing about the schools, and I did hear the word disability in that category, please remind that one thing is when you do, let's also make it clear, we are closing the street between Ocean View on Brighton 7th to Neptune Avenue. The one thing we got to remember, one thing, as construction is going on, we need to make sure those beams are not interrupting the sidewalk, because there are certain parts of lanes where those beams does cut out an inch or a foot of that. Please make sure that when you do see a senior or disabled person using a walker or a wheelchair, those lanes must be cleared, and not, the beam is not going to get loose, because remember, you are also in the floodgates, number one. 2, high winds, because remember, you are near the coldest part of Brooklyn. We need to be very cautious. Now, I understand about the closing of streets, because I do see this in Manhattan, Park Slope. The one thing I can say is they never do 2 hours. They do it more for at least an hour when you're doing a dismissal, to make sure students are getting out safely. During the winter seasons, we need to remind safety, making sure there are plenty of salt, not just on the sidewalk, which you always do, but on the street as well. Students who are coming out during a very cold weather, we have to be careful. So please, let's make sure, think of safety for all kids.
Chris, do you have a question related to closing the streets, or we're talking about something else?
Safety. That is a question about
They're
safety.
talking about the 1.5 hours to close the street. Is that all related to that? Because it doesn't seem to me.
I will answer. I understand where he's coming from, Lucy, and I do want to reassure Chris. He's brought up some good points that during the construction phase, we have regular site safety personnel on site on a regular basis, as well as the general contractor, and we will ensure that the safety is will be paramount for the security and the safety of not only the students, the staff, but also for the residents as well, and also for those seniors who are in wheelchairs as well. So thank you, Chris.
I respect his question, but again, I made it clear, we're here to discuss the closure of the street. We're not here to discuss the construction part.
I know. I just wanted to.
And I get his point, but it's 8:19, and let's stick to the topic. Yeah.
Okay, I have a simple question. How are the residents on that block going to get a Uber or a Safeway car or any other car or a van to come in and take them to the doctor's appointment and then take them back? I mean, what are they going to leave them off at the corner if you're a senior citizen, or if it's a parent with 1 or 2 kids? How are they going to manage that type of situation?
I believe that Mr. Albert mentioned before, and I think this would also allude in terms of for those who have trouble getting on the block, that there will be people manning the barricades if someone needs to get in. That would be.
But I'm talking specifically
right
at that time when you're going to be closing off the street, when the kids are coming out or waiting on the street or things like that. So how are you going to accommodate residents who have doctor's appointments or dental appointments, or have to go for infusions at a specific time at centers, the kidney dialysis, et cetera, et cetera? This is an important issue. They can't work around your schedule if they have an appointment every week at a kidney dialysis center.
Understood.
Okay, so how is this going to be mitigated?
Colin, do you want to address that?
Yes, again, the situation the gentleman mentioned, I consider it medical emergencies. And like I say, we'll have people manning the barricades, and they'll take appropriate action to make sure those emergency measures are met.
So in other words, the driver has to show some kind of pass or something to get through the barrier. I have to pick up this patient to take him to the kidney dialysis. That's not going to work.
I never.
Very lackadaisical answer. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I never mentioned anything about anybody showing a pass. I didn't say that. You said it. I never mentioned a pass.
But who's gonna be the traffic officer over there to say, oh, this one has to pick up this person to take him to the doctor or return from the doctor?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Elisa, but you will have there will be a school team that will be there.
Steve, thank you so much. No,
Go ahead.
I absolutely understand what the gentleman is saying. Jeff is not wrong. It is something that we've been talking about as well. So I do not have that answer as the instructional lead of a school, and I do understand what he's saying. What he's saying is if there are people who have to come to and fro, in addition to the fact, and moreover, there would be parents in the street during that time, we would be, what the conversation is making the school responsible now to be the traffic police, which goes back to one of the community members who suggested if there's a way to loop in the 6-0 to have auxiliary there or police, they would be better suited to do that, public safety. Because in terms of that, we know that that is a concern, certainly something to think about, but I can speak on behalf of the staff. It would never be the staff that I would have speaking about anything having to do with safely transporting and open a school gate to allow for someone to come into transport. So that is a definite fair question. And the only answer that we have to that with regard to the closure is I think I'm hearing a lot about the significance of time, looking to shut that down a little bit. I don't have that answer. I imagine we can look at the records for the schools around the city that do that and how the communities respond to that. I'm certain that it's not just Brighton that has those issues. Again, we are looking at that, I imagine, with SCA simply because there are very few other options when we think about providing equitable school days and putting up the building. So Jeff, that is a very good question.
I appreciate the answer, Lisa, but I think there has to be more thought about that type of issue.
Jeff, I do understand your concerns. I will bring it up to SCA staff tomorrow, and I will raise that that you brought up. Yes.
Perez.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Perez Siddiqui. I'm the chairman of the Community Center, and I think in all this discussion, Iram has very aptly pointed out to a lot of these issues, which I agree with, but I think Jeff brings a very good point, and also a fact that the mosque is right at the corner and have an influx of about 300-400 people coming in on Friday. And it's going to be very, very challenging. And I think there should be more discussion and solutions to figure out all these issues that may come up with emergencies, medical emergencies, and who's going to take the liability or responsibility if, God forbid, something happens. So I think that's one thing. The second thing, what I would propose, as far as my seniors are concerned, as far as the egress or exit from there, if the DOT can give us some parking spot for our 2-3 vans on Neptune Avenue for that period of time, then we can use the different exit and take them out of Neptune Avenue. But I certainly think that this whole thing needs a lot more discussion. For most of the other, players have to be discussed. I don't know if anybody has spoken to the doctor's offices, or even, the imam could not come in at a very short period of time. But I will definitely bring it up to him, and we'll see what other issues there are so we can address them in the next meeting or following up on that.
Do you want to respond anyway, or if not, any other questions? Oh,
Joanne.
Hello, Zanera, and then Joanne, and then me.
Yes, thank you.
I had more a procedural question of like what
Stop
exactly.
muting me, Eddie. Zanera, Joanne, and then I. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just had a question about what are we voting on? Just the time frame that this is happening and nothing else, or?
Correct.
And if there's things, I think Jeff brought up really valid points. Can we have a further discussion and not vote today? Is that possible?
I believe they said they were not going to be able to use the yard starting September, and since school closes in July and August.
Yeah.
It's best to get it done tonight. Because we have to vote on it on our full board meeting, which is the end of the month.
Okay.
Joanne.
Okay,
I'm sorry. Any questions, Zanara? You done? Zanara, are you done?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Joanne, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I saw a couple of comments in the chat about trying to get together with the 6-0. I don't know what the status is on using an auxiliary at this point. I do know, I believe you already have 2 crossing guards. There are not many schools that have 3. But as the president of the 60th Precinct Council, I will get back to the precinct and see if we can schedule a sit down. I'll get your contact information if you would like from Eddie and reach out to you as soon as I can get something squared away. So that's if you want it, because it's coming up in the chat. So if that's what you want, then that's what I'll do.
I appreciate you offering that, Joanne. That was one of my questions, is that everyone's speaking on, let's bring A, B, and C to help us, but where was A, B, and C prior? There's no speed bump there. There was not enough secure school crossing guards there. There's not a police enforcement, and then now you're magically expecting to come? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because if it wasn't there prior, it's not gonna happen because you're closing a street for 2 hours. It's not gonna happen.
You know, Lucy, that thing for the speed bumps, that's been going on for years. This is back to when I was.
Rhonda kindly says she'll look at it again. So let's see if maybe some magic comes with her.
Okay.
I thought in my little mind, I would think there should be a speed bump at every school, but you know, what people think of common sense is common sense. You know, what I'm dealing with Mark Twain over here. So, you know, parents are turning backwards in the middle of the street because the school bus is blocking them because, you know. Okay, so let's make a motion. So just remember, if there's a motion on the floor to approve the approval letter or the approval letter for the 2 hour, I think it's 2 hours gap, and you don't want it to happen, you need to vote it down. Understood? Because there has to be a motion on the floor to approve it first.
Lucy, I have a question before you put a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Do you feel that this particular plan is finished and very well thought of? It looks like there's a lot of questions and more questions than answered. So if we put right now no, let's say if you vote yes, we don't know if these questions will be addressed moving forward. If we vote no, we actually more or less, you know, jeopardizing the whole project. So at this point, I don't think it's ready to be voted on. Maybe it's the best way, and it's just a suggestion. I don't know if it's procedurally right. Maybe it would be better if they come in to the full board meeting with an answers and present this to the full board, and at that point it will be voted. I don't think it's
You
really
have
ready
3
to vote.
committees here. You have 3 committees here. That's almost a full board, in my opinion.
Okay, valid point, but
you know, in my opinion, you have half of the board here.
Let me ask
so
you a
you
question.
have somewhat of a full board. I'm sorry, give me a minute, Eddie. You have that, and I believe Steven said it's September. What that when you're gonna start? When is it?
September. Whatever that date in September, it's normally right after the Labor Day. So it'll be that first week after Labor Day.
I have a question. Why can't you start in July and at least start the 2 months and not have the closure within the 2 months? And then we could revisit it in September. Give us that little break here.
Because there's no summer.
No school.
There's no summer programs at this school.
Right. So there's no kids there. So you won't need to close the street, or maybe I'm not comprehending it.
I think we're looking, Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we're looking to close the street till September.
It's September.
You're looking to close within the school hours, the 2 school hours, right?
Yes, yes.
Correct. So what I'm saying is, why can't the project be started in July and work July and August, and you don't have to close the street for 2 hours?
No, it's
No.
2 years.
kids
This whole
won't
thing
be
is
It's 2
2 years.
years.
It's
It's
2
2
years. The whole
years.
I
project is 2
get
years.
that. I'm saying so we could revisit it in September, because members are saying that we should hold off and discuss this in September. But what I'm saying, if you start the project and you work for 2 months, we can revisit it in September.
Lucy, that's called common sense.
No.
And we know what that means.
I don't know. I'm just, sometimes I have this little peanut brain, and the brain,
Okay.
it doesn't work that way unless you're gonna tell me, oh, we were only budgeted to start in September, so we can't move it back to July.
Okay. Well. All right.
Eddie, let me finish. Let me finish
I think
what I'm saying.
I'm going to tell you.
Aaron, go ahead.
Okay, wait, hold on. Before you say anything else,
Okay.
you have to realize the kids are not going to be operating during July and August.
Yes,
Streets
my
will-
point.
Right? The streets will be still open. It will begin
correct.
when school year begins. which
That's
is
correct.
December.
So what I'm saying, Eddie, is that why can't they start the work in July?
They are doing it.
And
They're
they
working
don't
since
have to
April.
worry about closing the streets in
They're working
September.
it
They're
since
working
April.
now. It's
They're working
construction
since
started
April.
already.
They started since April.
It started
There you
April
go. There's
18th.
someone. All right, that's
They
a
said it.
whole.
They
There
said
you
that in the
go.
beginning.
That's a whole.
Yeah, no, we
story.
started April
You
18th.
should have.
They
You should have
started it.
nailed it on the head.
They
You
said
should have
that.
nailed
No.
it and said, "Lucy, it's already working. We're gonna keep."
No, I
working
mentioned it,
summer.
Lucy.
We're
I
talking
mentioned
about
it.
just closing the street in September.
No,
Joanne
no,
and I
Lucy.
didn't even realize that.
Lucy, I mentioned it in my presentation
The
right at the
beginning.
beginning that it began on April 18th.
Yes.
I
I
mentioned
went
it.
to get a sandwich.
Okay,
all right.
but the
That's
whole thing
okay.
is-
Yes.
All right, the whole thing is, if we don't give a support letter, will this happen?
My understanding is if we don't get a support letter from the community board, then it would hurt our chances of having street closure. That's what I'm
They
told.
have to go to the city council, and you know what's gonna happen. They're gonna overrule us. Aaron, go ahead. Is she
Sorry,
there?
I was having a difficulty in unmute. Okay, Lucy, I think I want to second Lolita that we should give more time to school to connect with other stakeholders and come with a better plan with the approval of council members office, 6O precinct, and other stakeholders. Because right now, if we vote no, we are just shutting everything down. And if we are, giving a support letter, then there are so many unanswered concerns and questions.
I believe we are the first step, and then they go based on our recommendation. Am I correct or wrong?
I am not sure. Procedurally, you have to decide how to move forward. As you said, we are.
No, that wasn't my question. My question was for DOT. Are we the first step, and then it goes on to the others, or you can circle back to us on their decision?
I'm sorry, this question's for me, right? So my understanding is that we vet the closure and then notify the community board, and you have a 30-day comment period.
Oh, no, she's.
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear you. You weren't coming in very well.
Okay. My understanding is that I know you just recently applied to the DOT for the street closure.
Yes,
For the
May 2nd.
open street, school
Yes.
street, or whatever they
That's
call
correct.
it now.
Well,
Right.
Good Streets program. Mhm.
Right, okay. So my understanding is that we have to review it, which we
Yes.
need like another 30 days to do that. And then if we feel that it works based on our criteria, we notify the community board and they have a 30-day comment period. So I'm not sure if that answers Lucy's question or not. I mean, it's one of many factors that are taken into consideration.
But we don't meet in the summer, this community board, so our 30-day period starts today, in my opinion.
Well, I think that's a good way to look at it, yeah. But.
Well, technically at the board meeting, sorry.
Sure. But you asked if you were like the first step or the last step. You're just one of the components. I mean,
One
it
of the
is, yeah, one of the components. I mean, we'll take all your concerns into consideration.
Right.
And certainly if you vote to support it, but you have a list of, you know, things that you want to be taken into consideration, I think that's valid to put in the letter of support, you know?
Is there a way that you guys can come to us instead of 5 days? Is it a way that maybe you could only close it 2 days and pick the days, and maybe the committee would be more adamant in saying, okay?
I'm going to let the school answer that.
I do appreciate the fact that you've given the school, and again, I appreciate the community, because I think the community is in the same situation that we are. We appreciate the building of a school, and now we've been asked to solve the problem. And although we have great minds among all of us, there are some technical pieces that we are becoming aware of this evening. So first and foremost, Iram, you know, the job that we do at our school centers around instruction, and albeit all of these things are a piece of it, to think about that the school would be going back and planning on how we can make this permissible. We're only a small piece of this, because most of this is being dictated to us in terms of what opportunities we have. Again, had we been able to keep that small area, and I do recognize the challenge, this probably would be a moot point. However, because of the size of the job and what the DOE has negotiated, it seems albeit impossible, which is why we're actually having this conversation. So certainly, I do agree with the community member. The challenges faced, that there is no community board in the summer. The children will be back September 8th. That is the first day of the calendar, according to the chancellor, as of yesterday. The looking at this is about having all plans made ahead of time, but it seems that the school is limited by the plans they're able to make based on the opportunities of utilizing staff to have this happen. We couldn't at all think of 2 out of 5 days, because the other 3 days, we would be in the same situation, which is 1,000 children being dismissed by 3 egresses around Brighton 6th, Brighton 7th, Ocean View, no stop signs, no speed bumps, and we are adjacent to Lincoln High School and down the block from Grady and down the block from the Brighton Beach train station. So and APNA, the facility, and all of the things that have to happen. So it is a challenge. It's the hope for us was to open up the discussion of the opportunity to possibly do this, recognizing the challenge within the community, most of whom are members or have been members of our school community, certainly over the 20 years that I've been there. So I don't have those answers. I don't think there is a one good answer. I think there's always going to be a concern. It's prioritizing how we're going to meet those needs. Again, keeping that small piece of the schoolyard would be the best answer. Having the police department, and I appreciate the input of them, helping us with that. That might be an easier facilitation, cutting down the amount of time. So if the police are there, 40 minutes or a half an hour might be enough. But basically at this juncture, they are, and we are reliant on the school personnel. So we needed that time for parents. Oftentimes when the police department gets involved, parents are much more expeditious in coming to pick up their children. Again, at the end of the day, my job is to return all of the children whose parents trust me, taking their children, returning them home. So I do appreciate the time you've taken for this and to work with us collaboratively. And we want to continue that, but we would not be the only stakeholder, Iram, having those discussions. It's far beyond our purview. Those are architectural questions, DOT, sanitation, police, and definitely the facilities, which, as mentioned by the community members, seems to be something that was not discussed in the past. So we are trying to do that together now. So I understand the rapid fireness of this. So thank you for the time today and your commitment to helping us in some way.
We got Jeff, then Gloria, then Priscilla.
And Joanne.
And Joanne too, sorry.
Thanks.
Okay, now raise your hand.
I have.
Okay.
I have to do
talk?
No, not yet, Gloria. Hold on a second. I happen to be in agreement with Ephraim and with Lolita. There are too many unanswered questions. We're going up and back with it. They have to come back with. They have to come back with a more precise plan more answers, more definition to the questions that everybody asked, including myself. And I think that we should table this vote tonight. That's my opinion.
Okay, Gloria?
Okay. Okay, this is only a suggestion.
Did Gloria just freeze?
You're frozen. Move on to
All right,
Priscilla until she
Priscilla, and
comes
then
back.
Michael Russo. Priscilla?
Maybe
So
everybody-
my question is,
Also,
Oh, wait, hold
why?
on. Okay, wait. Gloria?
I
can
can
you hear-
finish talking.
Okay. you
Sanitation
just froze.
also, if they needed some type of, well, sanitation got it two ways too. I used to be a sanitation enforcement agent when it first started. So they have the cleanup, the enforcement, and also they have enforcement, sanitation officers that became enforcement. Now, getting back to the police department, the fact that the Chancellor family is former law enforcement and Eric Adams, our mayor, they should, somebody, I don't know how this is going to work, but they should have some type of referral from the police department to give a helping hand with this school and the projects that you're working on. That's all I had to say. That's just my input, because I can't see the crossing guards doing safety and trying to do other stuff with the corrupt construction around the school. I can't see that. But the police officers, I don't think this day and time that they probably going to take officers from doing the job that they supposed to do to attend or babysit a school. I mean, everything, we need everything during this day and time. People getting killed, kids getting shot. We need all of this. So it's only a suggestion, not a complaint, and I'm finished.
Great. Priscilla, Michael. Priscilla first.
My quick question is, that the school construction authority, they're the ones who are in charge of the construction that takes place on DOE property. Did anyone meet with the school construction authority, the Department of Transportation, and with the police department to make a plan as to how each of these agencies can collaborate with each other to make sure that not only are the residents' concerns addressed, but that the project for the school that is much needed, the expansion, is also accommodated as well. If all the agencies that are involved in providing a plan would sit and meet with each other, I think it would
work.
Yeah, it would work out if some kind of realistic plan, because the school construction authority is the one that really instructs the school itself, the administration, how the construction schedule is going to take place. They discuss it with the principal, but at the end of the day, it's the DOE and the school construction authority that determine that schedule for construction. So as a principal, her hands are limited in terms of how the construction will take place. So my thing is, why can't we have a meeting where we can have these three agencies present to address everyone's concern and come up with a realistic plan where everyone is not so perplexed about it?
Write a letter. Write a letter. It's called mobilization. That's what it's called.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Priscilla, for your comment. Michael?
Thank you.
Hindsight's always 20/20. We've been sitting here for an hour and a half talking about the same thing, going around in circles on things that were decided long before our meeting here. They decided to build this school, put 20 pounds of bologna in a 1-pound bag long before we had this meeting. So I would like to make the motion to give support for the 2-hour closure. I'd like to make the motion to give the support for the 2-hour closure. Going around in circles, talking about school safety is very important. Talking about the children's safety is very important. But like they said before, we're going to make a vote. We can vote yes, we can vote no, and then the city council is probably going to override us or agree with us. So I would like to make the motion for a letter of support for the 2-hour closure. Let them get this done. Let them get this thing done as soon as possible. The faster they get it done, the easier it would be. The easier it would be to solve the problems that everyone's asking that really can't be answered until it happens. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, discussion closed, vote.
Okay, Madam Chair.
One second. Who seconded? I'm sorry, Lucy.
Gunera Ahmed.
Thanks.
Madam Chair, if I may, am I calling out the committees or just the names?
You're calling out people's names.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Gloria Watkins.
Yes.
Joanne Weiss.
Remember what the motion is on the table. The motion on the table is to approve the project. If you do not want the project approved, you must turn it, you must say no. But Gloria, that wasn't about for you to change your vote. It was just to make it clear what we're voting on. Go ahead.
I know.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Joanne Weiss.
No.
Susan Flaschenberg. Susan Flaschenberg? No, say it to the camera.
No.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Thank
can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Sorry.
Priscilla.
Priscilla Santos.
No.
Jeff Sanoff.
No.
Lucy Mujica Diaz.
I thought this was something.
Gloria, 1 second. Gloria, you want to say something? No, she can't say anything. Okay.
I muted her and I'll wait for second roll call.
You wait for second roll call? I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm skipping you?
Yes.
Okay, got it. All right. Lolita Zibilova.
I will abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Zunera Ahmed.
Abstain.
Michael Quinn.
No.
Michael Russo.
Yes. For the 2-hour closure.
Priscilla Santos.
No.
Okay, let me see. Annette Wesley.
No.
Thank you. Marion Cleaver.
No.
Okay, Aram Hanif.
Abstain.
Abstain. Okay. Pervez Siddiqui. Pervez? What happened to Pervez? Okay, I'll come back. Evelyn Strasser. Okay, she said no. Edita Vodovskaya.
No.
Okay, I'm coming back to
Gloria.
Gloria?
Is no. I thought this was to vote.
You already
on.
voted, Gloria, you already voted.
Okay. No.
Okay, so I'm not changing her vote, correct?
Her vote is still no. She keeps saying no. Let's move on.
No, she said she wants to vote no.
That's what she said in the beginning. Let's move on.
She originally voted yes.
She didn't know what she was voting
No,
for.
she didn't. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, she did. Okay.
So what's the ruling?
Let's get back to her because
Okay.
I'm confused of what she wants to do.
Okay, so Madam Chair, I'm looking for Pervez Siddiqui. I think he's having a problem with his audio again. All right. Gloria Watkins, what is your vote?
Is no. I thought we was voting.
Okay, that's it. Thank. What did you say? I didn't hear from the.
Just keep going.
Okay, hold on, where am I? Lucy Mujica Diaz.
Am I the last roll call?
Yes, ma'am. I can't get a hold of Pervez, and everyone else that is here voted already.
Excuse me, Hannah. I got a text message from Pervez. He cannot unmute himself.
Okay, can he put it?
He can put his camera on. He can swing his hands.
Yeah,
Okay, let me tell him. I don't know.
thank you.
If he shakes his head and I see his face, yes, but I can't take it on a text and I can't accept it in the chat. I'm sorry that he's having audio, but
Mhm.
give it a second, guys, so we can get his vote in. Perez, can you place your camera on? I see you there. Perez. I'm gonna give him a minute because this happened at the last meeting and we missed his vote. In the meantime, can you tally up without my vote and let me know until we get Perez and myself?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the last item, Eddie?
Yes.
No, no, it's not. I'm sorry. We have the update on summer detail 2020.
Okay, Perez, how do you vote? Yes, no, shake your head, do a dance. Give me a thumb if it's yes. Give me a thumb down if it's no.
I can't see him. I can't see his.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Oh, I abstain.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
so that would have been up and down, something like that. I don't know what it would have been.
Okay, okay, Madam Chair, you want the vote before your vote, correct?
No, no, that's okay. I oppose.
You oppose. Okay, I have the tally. May I read it?
Yes, please.
11, oh, sorry, wrong. That's 12. Okay, my apologies. 12 opposed, 1 in favor, 4 abstain.
Okay. It's been turned down. Thank you. Let's move on to the next item. Thank you for your presentation and good luck.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to be on today. Appreciate it. Bye-bye now. Thank you.
Bye.
What's the
Bye.
next item on the agenda?
Update on the summer detail. Barbara spoke to Frank Balzoni.
Okay, give me a second. There's nothing else to vote on, right?
No.
Michael, good night. Get some rest. Russo. And maybe he fell asleep on some lasagna. Let's move on.
Okay, Barbara.
Good night, everybody.
Wait. We're not
Oh,
finished yet.
don't
We're not
leave.
finished yet.
I said Michael, he was tired, not you.
Okay, I'm not tired. It's fine. Okay, I'll wait.
Okay, Joanna, you giving us an update?
Oh, Barbara.
No, I am. Hello.
Oh,
I
Barbara,
am.
sorry, I apologize. Go
Okay,
ahead.
no problem. Frank said that as of right now, we're getting approximately 80 police, and they will be posted at key locations within the confines of the entire 6-0 community, not only in the amusement area.
I have a question with that, Barbara. I don't know if you can answer it or should I wait for the 6? So is there a way, do you know if it's gonna be the same locations as always, or can we? request for a special
Lucy, I
location?
don't know. I don't think right now they know. I'm
I
sure
have a
they
problem
will.
with. Mhm. I have a problem with Nathan's thinking that NYPD is their special security.
Yeah, okay. I think that by the time we have our precinct council meeting, they will know exactly where everyone will be put. I don't think he knows now. So, you know.
Well, I bring this up every year. Nathan seems to think that our NYPD needs to stand there, you know, while they're open to 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, while we have other locations in our area that need assistance.
Well, like he said, the inspector said that they are going to be posted throughout the community, not only in the amusement area. So maybe, you know, you can reach out to Frank, or we can wait for the precinct council.
I'll wait for the 6-0 meeting. I'll wait for the council meeting.
Already or not?
Mark, what
finished.
happened?
Yeah,
we're finished. If you want to leave, Mark. Mark, if you want to leave, you can.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night. Thank you for everything.
Good night. Good night.
Yeah, I'll wait for the 6:00 council meeting and ask that question. Thank you.
Okay. All right, if there's nothing else, Lolita,
think Joanne
since
has
you are the
something
chair.
to say.
Lolita,
Joanne,
you
you
there?
have something to say?
Oh,
Yes, I'm here. So do we have any?
I just wanted to say that there are permanent posts set in place always. And if in fact we have to fly them to another site in Coney Island, we will. But there are some designated spots and there are some permanent posts in Coney Island itself. If you want more specifics, then you're gonna have to talk to me on the phone or we'll get in touch
All
with
right.
Frank. Okay?
Yeah, I'll bring it up at the council meeting, but I just was curious, because like I said, every year Nathan's wants their own private NYPD people, you know, they just want our taxpayers to pay for Nathan's while they make millions on us.
I agree.
That's just, you know,
I
we
agree.
have other locations. You know, we're looking at, I'm just saying, because there's some hot spots that, I'm not saying the priest is not aware of them, but maybe we could make it more, make them more aware that those locations that others might see that they don't see might need more
Well,
attention.
let's say this, if you have specific hotspots that you want me to bring to their attention, they may know it, they may not know it. So if you have anything specific, just email it to me. Okay?
No problem. Thank you. Okay, so is it, any new
Do we have
business,
any-
old business? And Lovita, go ahead.
No, that's what I wanted to bring up, if there is any new
Thank you.
on old business.
I guess there isn't any. All right, Lolita, you're the chair.
So we're gonna make a motion to adjourn.
That's it. Anyone? Lucy
I
said.
can second.
You got it. Thank you, guys.
Lucy, Eddie, Jeff, Barbara, can you stay on for just a sec?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right,
Have a
everyone.
good
Thank
night,
you very
everybody.
much.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Thank you, everyone, as always. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Night,
you, everyone.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Lucy, I wasn't sleeping or eating. Have a good night.
All right.
Good night, Michael.
Love you.
Thanks, Mike.
Good night, Michael. Love you.
Good night. Love you guys too. Have a good
Oh,
night.
let's stop the
night.
recording,
Good.
please. He's
I'm
married. Stop the
trying.
recording. We're married.
Stop the recording.
But that
Eddie.
doesn't mean that you're dead, you know, hello, really.
Eddie, can you take this off YouTube? I don't want anyone.
Stop
to
the
look at
recording.
Stop recording.